Be extremely subtle, even to the point of formlessness. Predictability is a cage, and those who live inside it invite the blade. In war, the general who marches the same road is the general whose corpse will be found in the ambush. In life, the same law applies. When others know your next move, you are no longer a player, you are a piece waiting to be taken from the board. Predictability is the enemy, and it hides in plain sight. History shows it clearly. Julius Caesar walked the same path to the Senate, and his killers knew exactly where to stand. Patterns kill power. Rulers who repeated themselves lost the throne because their enemies only had to wait. Once your rhythm is mapped, you are no longer feared, you are calculated. The truth is brutal. What can be predicted can be destroyed. Modern life sharpens the trap. Every time you scroll the same way, post at the same time, react with the same anger, or collapse into the same excuses, you broadcast your weakness. Algorithms know your next click before you do. Employers and rivals see how you will answer before the words leave your mouth. If you lash out every time someone disrespects you, your leash is already in their hand. A predictable man is an owned man. Imagine a commander who sends his army down the same valley each morning. The enemy does not need genius, he only needs patience. One day the commander's soldiers will not return. This is the fate of predictable people. The strike against them does not need to be swift, only inevitable. Predictability builds a map, and that map guides others straight to your downfall. Your duty is simple. Break the map, shatter the rhythm that makes you easy to read. Delay your reactions, change your routes, interrupt your own routines before they enslave you. Refuse to let others count your steps. Do not be the open book handed freely to your opponents. Be the closed fortress whose gates never open the same way twice. The battle begins in awareness. Name the trap, predictability. Kill it before it kills you. From this moment forward, the command is carved in stone. Stop being predictable. Your mind is a throne, yet most rulers surrender it without a fight. They hand it over to routine, to the predictable pulse of repetition, until the crown sits on a hollow head. Power begins and ends here, in the patterns you allow to govern thought. If the throne is ruled by habit, then you are not king, you are captive. Neuroscience explains this trap. The brain is built to conserve energy, to automate behavior so it doesn't burn fuel with every choice. Habits serve survival, but when left unchallenged, they become chains. The same pathways fire again and again, narrowing your range, shrinking your options. What feels comfortable is often the start of decay. Mastery comes from disruption, deliberately breaking the current to forge a new stream. Each time you interrupt a thought loop, you sharpen control over the throne. Look at the modern battlefield. Every click, every pause, every routine search builds a map of your behavior. Your digital footprint predicts you better than those closest to you. Corporations know what you want before you speak it aloud. Algorithms design traps that anticipate your weaknesses because you have left trails of predictable thought. This is not a conspiracy, it is calculation. The moment you think your choices are private is the moment you are already conquered. If your mind is transparent, your throne is glass, and glass shatters easily. Consider how this plays out when pressure arrives. Someone challenges you at work. They know you will react defensively because you always do. Instead of rising, you hold the throne by stillness. You answer with calm precision, not a rehearsed explosion. Suddenly the pattern is broken. You are no longer predictable, and control shifts instantly to you. Weak. You always underestimate me. Strong. I choose what I reveal. and when, the difference is sovereignty over your own throne. Do not allow habit to be the invisible king. Audit your patterns. Change routes, interrupt routines. Delay reactions that once came automatically. Train your brain to serve you, not to rule you. Each disruption is a reclaiming of territory, a declaration that your mind belongs to you. If a throne is ruled by routine, it is already conquered. Shatter that rule, and you rise as sovereign once more. From this moment forward, the command is simple. Rule your throne, or be ruled by it. The morning is a battlefield, and the first strike determines whether you are hunter or prey. Dawn exposes the truth of power. If you rise with command, you dictate the tempo of the day. If you rise in hesitation, you give the enemy the advantage before the fight even begins. The hours after waking are not neutral. They are contested ground. Whoever controls them controls you. History leaves no doubt about this principle. Hannibal marched his troops at unexpected hours, striking when his enemies believed they were safe. Napoleon shifted his assaults at dawn or dusk, never letting opponents rely on routine. Their victories were not accidents of luck, but outcomes of timing. Predictability in war is a weakness. The general who follows the same pattern of attack will eventually meet an army already waiting for him. Timing is strategy, and strategy begins with uncertainty. Your own mornings follow the same law. When you snooze the alarm, check notifications, or scroll aimlessly, you make yourself predictable. Each habit is a flag planted for others to read. Technology exploits it. Algorithms know you better than your friends because your first actions each day are the easiest to track. If you wake at the same time, grab the same device, consume the same feed, and react with the same emotions, you surrender the battlefield without resistance. This is how routine enslaves. It builds a map for others to use against you. Imagine an enemy waiting for you at the exact hour you rise. He does not need speed, only patience. The moment you step out, the trap is sprung. That is what happens each time you walk into the morning without awareness. The enemy may not be a soldier with a blade. It may be distraction, dependency, or the 1,000 small pulls of routine that rob you of sovereignty. Predictability gives them certainty, and certainty gives them power. The remedy is discipline in command. Vary your mornings, rise before you are expected. Delay the instant reflex of checking your device. Begin with silence instead of noise. Replace passive reaction with deliberate choice. Do not let your first actions be the leash that others hold. The morning belongs to the one who claims it as a battleground, not the one who drifts through it unaware. Control dawn, and you control the war. From this moment, hold this mantra. Command the morning. Command the day. Predictability thrives in noise. Every word spilled carelessly is a signal. Every reaction is a map. Every explanation is a disclosure that strips you of advantage. Silence is different. Silence is a weapon. Machiavelli warned that words often betray intent, but restraint conceals it. To speak too much is to hand the enemy your plans. To hold still is to make them wonder whether you have 1 or 10 or none at all. Stillness is not weakness. It was an ambush. Think of the predator hidden in the tall grass. Its power comes not from endless motion, but from perfect patience. When you are loud, your enemies can measure you. When you are still, they must guess. Uncertainty is its own kind of strike, because fear grows fastest in the absence of clarity. The general who waits without signaling causes his opponent to consume himself in doubt before the battle even begins. You see this truth in modern negotiations. Talk too fast, and you reveal desperation. Stay quiet, and the other side fills the air with their own uncertainty. Silence pushes them to expose details you never needed to request. It buys you time while stealing theirs. A pause, well placed, weighs heavier than a flood of words. Even in daily interactions, when someone challenges you and you meet it with calm stillness instead of reflexive chatter, the balance tilts. The predictable man defends himself with noise. The disciplined man holds his ground with silence, forcing the other to stumble into overreach. Picture an argument at work. A colleague criticizes your plan, expecting you to justify every move. Weak. You don't understand what I meant. Strong. I hear you. Then silence. The contrast is decisive. The first invites more attack. The second leaves them uncertain, unsure whether they struck or missed. Calm stillness disarms more than loud retaliation ever will. This is how you hold the throne even under fire, by refusing to dance to predictable rhythm. Do not confuse stillness with passivity. Passivity surrenders. Stillness conceals strength until it is time to act. It is a calculated pause, not absence of power. A predator waits not because it lacks claws, but because it knows when to use them. Learn to weaponize your pauses, and you deny others the ability to read you. Noise reveals. Silence unsettles. Stillness prepares the strike. Hold it, master it, and release it only on your terms. Silence is ambush. Machiavelli wrote that injuries must be inflicted once, and with severity, so they are not repeated. The same principle applies to your habits. If you want to master uncertainty, you cannot allow weakness to survive in fragments. You must strike it down completely. Predictability begins with the small patterns you tolerate. Left untouched, they grow into chains that bind you to failure. Elimination, not adjustment, is the discipline that keeps your throne intact. Think of a general who repeats a failed maneuver. His troops march the same path, meet the same ambush, and fall the same way. After the second mistake, the war is no longer lost by the enemy's brilliance, but by his own refusal to change. The lesson is brutal. Once a path proves destructive, burn it. Do not return to it again. Victory requires finality, not negotiation with weakness. Half measures prolong defeat. Decisive elimination builds fearlessness. Modern life exposes how costly repetition has become. Cybercrime thrives on predictability. Weak passwords recycled across accounts, daily routines broadcast online, predictable clicks tracked by algorithms, each is a routine waiting to be exploited. When you repeat patterns, you leave a map for others to weaponize against you. The attackers do not need genius. They only need your consistency. Just as an army becomes vulnerable by moving on familiar roads, you become vulnerable when you allow habits to remain unchallenged. The rule is the same in your personal sphere. If someone provokes you and you always react with the same flare of anger, they own you. If they can predict your tone, your timing, or your words, they can control the rhythm of the exchange. Picture a colleague criticizing your work. Weak. You always say the same thing. Strong. Noted. Then silence. The first repeats a routine defense. The second eliminates it and forces uncertainty. By killing the predictable response, you deny them leverage. Elimination is ruthless by necessity. It does not mean cruelty. It means ending the cycle that feeds weakness. Audit your life and identify the repeated maneuvers that have already failed you. Purge them without hesitation. Delete what exposes you. Change what patterns enemies could trace. Replace the broken with the disciplined and never return to what left you vulnerable. Predictability cannot survive a decisive strike. Burn the routine or be buried by it. The command is absolute. Destroy weakness completely. Power is not only in the strike, it is in the mask worn before the strike. Command is theater, and the strongest rulers understood that perception decides battles long before swords touch. To be unpredictable, you must learn to wear masks that disorient those who watch you. If your face, tone, and timing are easy to read, you hand control away. When you make others guess, you force them to fight shadows instead of certainty. History proves this. Winston Churchill could project warmth in one moment and ruthless iron in the next, leaving allies and enemies unsure of which face would dominate. Joseph Stalin cultivated an unreadable persona, often silent, often smiling slightly when the room expected fury. That mask bred unease, and unease bred compliance. They commanded not only with decisions, but with the mystery surrounding their presence. The mask is not deception for its own sake. It is a shield that forces others to second-guess every move. In modern life, the same law applies. In business, if you reveal your next step too openly, competitors prepare their defenses. In relationships, if every thought is spoken the moment it arises, you become predictable and powerless. The mask is not dishonesty. It is discretion. You do not owe the world your unfiltered self. You owe yourself the power to reveal what strengthens you and conceal what weakens you. When others cannot read your next action, they tread carefully. That hesitation is to your advantage. Imagine a commander smiling before launching an attack. The enemy sees the smile and falters. Does it mean weakness, or does it mean overwhelming strength? That pause of doubt, even a heartbeat long, is enough to tilt the fight. You can create the same pause in everyday exchanges. A colleague challenges your idea. Weak. Let me explain everything so you understand. Strong. We'll see. The first reveals too much. The second holds ground while keeping the mask intact. Predictability invites attack. Mystery creates space where others hesitate to move. Masks do not imprison you. They liberate you from being permanently defined by others. They give you a choice over which version of yourself appears in each moment. Learn to shape the mask consciously. Sometimes steady, sometimes unreadable, sometimes sharp, never the same twice. The mask must serve your command, not your comfort. It is a tool, a weapon, and a shield all at once. Uncertainty is theater, and the stage is yours. From this moment, hold the command, wear the mask, command the field. The greatest slavery is emotional predictability. When your reactions can be mapped, others hold the strings. Anger, outrage, and offense become signals that reveal your position before you even act. To master uncertainty, you must train the assassin within, the part of you that kills predictable reactions before they escape. This is not suppression, it is sovereignty. You choose the strike, not the habit. Psychological research shows that human emotions, especially anger, are often forecastable. People can predict with high accuracy when someone will erupt, because emotional pathways are rehearsed the same way again and again. This repetition builds a script, and once others know the script, they can direct the play. The one who cannot control his temper is already defeated before the battle begins, because his enemy knows exactly which lever to pull. Modern conflict illustrates it everywhere. Online debates, workplace disputes, family arguments. They escalate not because the words are new, but because the reactions are automatic. An insult lands, and the explosion follows. The cycle repeats endlessly, each side chained to predictability. The predictable person loses control because they cannot withhold the expected response. Power leaks out, not through weakness of will, but through slavery to repetition. Picture a workplace disagreement. A colleague says, "This plan will never work." Weak. "You always try to undermine me." Strong. Pause, then say calmly, "Tell me why." The first is predictable, defensive, and draining. The second kills the routine reaction, shifts control, and forces the other to reveal themselves. Calm leadership comes from refusing to follow the script others expect. This is the assassin at work, quietly eliminating the reaction that would have betrayed you. The assassin within is not cruel. It is discipline. It recognizes that every moment of silence before reacting is a blade drawn in secret. By withholding the obvious answer, you place the burden of uncertainty on the other side. They expect noise, and you give them stillness. They expect a strike, and you give them patience. Then, when the time is right, you answer from choice, not from compulsion. That answer carries weight because it was not predictable. Train yourself to see triggers as invitations to power. Each time you resist the reflex to react, you sharpen your edge. Each time you pause, you reclaim the throne of your own mind. The assassin within thrives on that pause, on the death of repetition. Kill predictable reactions, and you deny others the map to your power. Hold this command as law. Silence the script. Rule the response. Unpredictability is not chaos. It is mastery over when to unleash and when to withhold. True power comes from knowing that order and chaos are both weapons, but only in the hands of one who chooses deliberately. If you are always orderly, your enemies trace your lines. If you are always chaotic, you burn yourself out. Control lies in balance, feeding each wolf when the moment demands. History proves the terror of this principle. The Mongol armies did not simply strike. They vanished. They raided brutally, then disappeared into silence, leaving enemies paralyzed with fear. No one knew when or where they would return, and that uncertainty destroyed morale long before swords clashed. Their strategy was not endless chaos. It was calculated unpredictability, discipline laced with sudden eruptions. Their empire expanded because their enemies could not prepare for what they could not predict. Your life reflects the same field of battle. In career, discipline builds trust, but predictability invites exploitation. Spontaneity sparks innovation, but recklessness destroys credibility. In relationships, rigidity suffocates, but constant volatility breeds distrust. The art is to move between the two consciously. Sometimes you reveal order, sometimes you unleash chaos, and never on anyone's timetable but your own. This is how unpredictability becomes strength rather than confusion. Consider a disagreement. A partner expects you to respond with irritation because you always do. This time you pause, then say evenly, "I hear you." The script is broken. The wolf of order held back, the wolf of chaos. Or in another setting, a colleague believes you will be silent as usual. Instead, you cut in with sharp precision, shifting the room. The wolf of chaos was fed at the right moment. The key is choice, not habit. Weak. I can't help it. Strong. I choose my strike. That distinction is everything. The metaphor of two wolves is clear. One embodies structure, ritual, and steadiness. The other embodies disruption, fire, and raw force. If you feed only one, you become trapped, either in rigidity or in destruction. If you starve both, you become weak, predictable, and powerless. The true sovereign is the one who decides which wolf eats and when. Each command you make to yourself determines whether you dominate the field or surrender it. Do not confuse unpredictability with recklessness. Chaos without control is collapse. Order without variation is slavery. Unpredictability is the art of weaving both into a rhythm no one else can follow. That rhythm forces hesitation in others and delivers confidence to you. The wolves live within you. Command them, feed them on your terms. From this moment, carry the law, control both wolves, rule the field. Life is a chessboard, and most people lose because they play by habit. They move the same pawns in the same order, trusting routine to protect them, and then wonder why they are cornered. Predictability on the board is surrender. A master thrives not by memorizing patterns, but by breaking them. Garry Kasparov, among the greatest players in history, often dismantled opponents by abandoning expected openings. He thrived in the unexpected. That is the essence of mastery, to see moves beyond sight, to think where others assume, to act where others hesitate. This truth extends beyond the game. Your life is data-driven chess. Algorithms study your every move, what you buy, where you linger, when you sleep, how you respond. They know your openings better than you do. With each scroll, you reveal your next step. With each reaction, you confirm the map others have already built of you. Playing with open cards is not freedom, it is exposure. The companies that harvest your choices and the rivals who anticipate your reactions rely on your predictability. They do not need genius to win. They need you to stay on script. Imagine sitting across from yourself in a match. You move your knight, and instantly your reflection mirrors the counter. You advance your bishop, and the reflection meets it effortlessly. The game never had tension, because the enemy knew your mind. This is what happens when you live predictably. Friends know exactly how you will answer, adversaries know how to unsettle you, and strangers can forecast your decisions through patterns left behind. If you already know your move, so does your enemy. The solution is not chaos, but strategic variation. In a meeting, if you always argue first, hold back once and let silence work. In negotiations, if you always concede quickly, pause and counter. Weak, I guess that's fine. Strong, this is my position. The words are simple, but the unpredictability forces recalculation. You cannot win if every move is written in advance. You win by holding back the obvious and introducing the unexpected. Command your life as a grandmaster commands the board. Think beyond the single move and weigh the sequence. Break routines deliberately, not recklessly. Alter your rhythm so no one can chart it. Guard your patterns the way a king guards its safety, because the moment your moves are predictable, you are already in checkmate. Power belongs to the player who sees more than what is visible. Master the unseen, break the script, and live by this command: move beyond sight. Ritual is a forge, but a forge that hardens or enslaves depending on how you wield it. Discipline without thought becomes a prison. The purpose of ritual is not to make you mechanical, it is to sharpen you into something unbreakable and adaptable. An iron ritual is not about repeating the same mold endlessly. It is about striking with fire and reshaping yourself with each blow. The samurai understood this truth. Their training rituals were not mindless drills, but preparations for adaptability. Sword practice, meditation, and physical conditioning built strength and awareness so that in battle they could respond without hesitation, shifting instantly between defense and attack. Their rituals did not trap them in rigidity. They freed them to be flexible when it mattered. The enemy who mistook ritual for predictability often fell, because what looked repetitive was actually preparation for controlled unpredictability. Modern life distorts this principle. Morning routines and gym schedules can build power, but when they become scripts, they strip you of awareness. If you cannot function without the exact breakfast, playlist or time slot, then ritual has become master and you have become servant. Predictability grows in the cracks of unexamined repetition. Others can anticipate you because you refuse to adapt. The routine that was meant to strengthen you now broadcasts your weakness. Think of your ritual as a forge. Each strike should shape a new edge. If you do the same action without reflection, you are striking the same dent into the same metal. Nothing changes. Instead, infuse variety. Train discipline, but also train disruption. If your ritual is meditation, alter the length. If your ritual is lifting, change the sequence. Weak, I always do it this way. Strong, I command it differently today. One enslaves, the other fortifies. Imagine a colleague criticizing your rigid approach. Instead of reacting defensively, you smile slightly and adjust midstream. That shift disorients them. They expected the mold, you gave them the forge. This is the power of shattering the cycle. You remain consistent in discipline, but unpredictable in execution. The mask of control is reinforced by your ability to bend, not break. Ritual should be iron in will, not iron in repetition. Let it serve as a foundation, not a cage. Use it to build strength, but alter it to preserve unpredictability. A true sovereign does not march in circles around the same fire. He commands the fire to burn in new shapes each day. Hold this as command. Forge yourself. Never cage yourself. The ultimate power is not constant presence, but controlled visibility. To be untouchable, you must learn to appear when it serves you and vanish when it does not. A king chained to the throne is the easiest target. A phantom king, one who can be found only when he allows it, cannot be dethroned. Power belongs to the figure who moves without being mapped, who rules through uncertainty of presence. History reveals this principle with clarity. Guerrilla fighters in Vietnam, Afghanistan, and countless other wars did not rely on strength of numbers. They thrived through unpredictability. They struck suddenly, then disappeared into mountains, jungles, or villages, leaving conventional armies exhausted from chasing shadows. Visibility meant vulnerability, so they mastered the art of vanishing. Their strength was not in confrontation, but in control of when and where they could be reached. This is survival turned into strategy, and strategy turned into dominance. Modern life mirrors the battlefield. Your visibility is no longer measured by where you stand, but by what you reveal. Every post, every search, every detail volunteered online builds a pattern that others can exploit. Companies, rivals, and even strangers track what you expose. True power in the digital age is controlling that exposure, choosing what becomes visible and what remains hidden. The predictable person lives with open curtains, every move documented. The untouchable person chooses the light carefully, never allowing a full view. What cannot be fully seen cannot be fully attacked. Imagine a workplace exchange. A colleague presses for your long-term plans, trying to read your hand. Weak, here's everything I'm planning for the next 6 months. Strong, you'll see soon enough. The difference is control. The first builds a target for others to exploit. The second keeps your strategy protected while projecting confidence. The Phantom King is never cornered because his map is incomplete. Enemies stumble when they try to strike a shape that fades before contact. Do not confuse absence with weakness. Absence, when chosen, creates mystery and leverage. Constant presence makes you predictable, expected, and eventually dismissed. Selective absence makes your presence heavier when it returns. When you decide when to be seen and when to disappear, you own the battlefield of perception. The predator that vanishes after a strike is feared more than the one always in sight. The king who appears at decisive moments commands more respect than the one always on display. The law is simple. Do not give the world continuous access to you. Control your data, control your presence, control your timing. Make yourself a phantom in a world obsessed with exposure. Be visible when it strengthens you, and vanish when it would weaken you. That is the throne of uncertainty, the power of the untouchable. Carry this command as crown and shield. Appear by choice, vanish by command. Uncertainty is the final armor, the crown no enemy can seize. All the principles you have carried, mind as throne, morning as battlefield, silence as ambush, ritual as forge, now converge into a single law. To become unpredictable in thought, time, action, and presence is to transcend the reach of ordinary opponents. The predictable man is bound to chains of habit, but the one who commands uncertainty becomes untouchable. History sharpens the lesson. Machiavelli argued that fortune favors the impetuous, not the cautious, because the world itself shifts unpredictably. Sun Tzu taught that the highest form of warfare is to be formless, shaping yourself against the enemy as water shapes itself to the ground. Genghis Khan built an empire through raids that alternated between lightning brutality and sudden withdrawal, leaving enemies broken by fear before swords struck flesh. Each understood what others ignored. Predictability kills rulers, unpredictability crowns them. The throne belongs to the one who cannot be anticipated. In today's battlefield, the sword is digital, the field is psychological, and the throne is perception. Predictability is slavery in this age. Algorithms know your desires. Employers forecast your resignations. Rivals read your emotions before you name them. The one who exposes all in the open becomes the servant of those who can map him. The modern king is the one who controls visibility, decides what data he releases, and chooses when to appear and when to vanish. If you fail to command your patterns, others will profit from them. Imagine the transformation into what can only be called the Phantom Strategist. This is not a ghost, but a figure who decides when to strike, when to retreat, when to remain silent, and when to erupt. He commands with pauses as much as with words. He shifts his routines before they become cages. He wears masks that disorient and thrones that cannot be seized. The Phantom Strategist is feared not because of cruelty, but because of unreadability. His enemies cannot prepare for him because he has already moved in directions they cannot see. Picture yourself in a moment of confrontation. A rival tries to bait you into anger, certain that you will explode as you always do. But this time, you remain calm, your silence more cutting than any outburst. Or in another moment, an opponent expects your usual caution, and you strike swiftly instead. Each time you step outside the script, you rise into mastery. Weak. This is just how I am. Strong. I choose how I appear. The shift is from prisoner of habit to sovereign of uncertainty. To reach this final form is not to abandon structure, it is to use structure as foundation for deliberate unpredictability. The throne of mind provides clarity. The battlefield of mourning gives control. The ambush of silence builds fear. The forge of ritual shapes adaptability. All unite into the sovereign who decides every appearance with intention. You become both presence and shadow, both visible and absent, both fire and silence. The lesson is eternal. A predictable king is a dethroned king. An unpredictable strategist is untouchable. Hold this law as the final command. Rule by being unreadable. A prince is respected when he is a true friend or a true enemy. The same law applies to you: certainty in loyalty, clarity in opposition, and unpredictability in strategy. What destroys power is not risk, but routine. Life does not reward the one who repeats. It respects the one who forces hesitation, who makes others question what will come next. Predictability is a cage, and every time you follow the same rhythm, you tighten the bars around yourself. Modern life punishes routine without mercy. Employers notice patterns of complacency before you do. Algorithms read your habits and profit from your predictability. Rivals at work or in relationships recognize the rhythm of your reactions and manipulate them. The man who believes his consistency is strength is often the man whose leash is already in another's hand. True strength is disciplined unpredictability, the ability to shift without losing control, to remain steady in will but unreadable in form. This does not mean chaos. It means strategy. The general who changes tactics keeps the enemy blind. The leader who alters pace keeps followers attentive. The individual who varies speech, action, and presence denies opponents a map. Weak. That's just how I always do things. Strong. I decide how I do things today. The difference is sovereignty. One is a slave to habit, the other is a ruler of himself. Think of your own routines and ask which ones build strength and which ones expose you. If you wake, speak, and act in ways that everyone can predict, you are already vulnerable. But if you command variation, delaying words, shifting timing, breaking patterns, you create doubt. Doubt in others becomes power for you. Machiavelli taught that clarity in stance matters, but predictability in method destroys rulers. To be respected, you must choose your position, then deliver it in ways no one foresees. The time for hesitation is over. Break the cycles that expose you. Control what you reveal, and never give your opponents the satisfaction of reading you like a script. Power is not simply in strength, but in mystery. From this moment, hold the command that ends predictability and crowns sovereignty. Dissolve your patterns, command the unknown, rule by being unreadable.